Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bradley. Quick show of hands, how many of you have a California driver license? Okay, keep your hands up, keep your hands up. How many of you like waiting in line at the DMV? Keep your hands up. See, great data visual, this is not for you then, Greg. This presentation, you can leave. There's data visualization right there. See that stark contrast. What I'm gonna show you is, we saw some pretty robust ideas on data visualization. I'm gonna show you, I kind of come from a background of less is more. And so I'm gonna show you a simplified model of trying to tell a story through some simple bar charts compared to what I had to work with. So, oh, I hate waiting. I'm gonna let you know that right now. The opportunity that I had with the Department of Motor Vehicles was to take a look at why there is wait at a field office. And I think all of us in our minds tend to have our idea of what's going on, but to truly dig deep and understand what is causing all of this wait. And I'll take you a little bit through the project. One caveat I want to make about what I'm about to show you is that our test site was in San Jose. It was one field office. So while this is really interesting stuff, and I do hope that it comes to a field office near you soon, please understand this was a test for us to see what we could do. I want to start with the process. So very quickly, a customer walks into the field office. They wait in line to get to the Start Here window. This is where you get your ticket. Then you wait to see what we call an MVR, a motor vehicle representative. This is the person that's going to help you with your transaction. And then your transaction is complete. Or if you're applying for a driver license or you need to register to vote or take a test, you take a test. What we found initially were a couple of problems, and this is where the data started to become important for us. First and foremost, what is it we can control? We can control from the moment you walk in that building until we're done with you, meaning your transaction is complete or you begin your test. We can't confine you to a certain amount of time. Ma'am, you only have 7 minutes to take your test, and then you're done. We can't do that. So we focus on what we can control. Number two, if you'll see here, we do have technology in place to track time, but it does not track the entire customer time. From the moment you walk in the building until you get that ticket, you're waiting. We can't track it. Once the transaction is done at the MVR window, if you need to take a photo, or you need to wait to take a photo, or you need to take a test or wait, we don't track it. We know you're doing it, we just don't know what that is. So you're seeing here that we have this challenge. So when we started collecting data, we had to literally start from scratch and stand in the field office and use stopwatches and time people. And we did a pretty robust effort at that. What I'm going to show you on this next slide is a before and after of the data I got and what I used to help explain my story. So on the left, I use a program called Minitab. It's a great tool. If you're a statistician, it's very handy, but if you're not, you get a slide that has a lot of mumbo jumbo on it. If I put this in front of leadership, colleagues, I'm then asking them to, let me see if the pointer works here, read this stuff, understand what a USL is, all this stuff. And what it does is it tends to start to cloud the fact that I'm just simply trying to explain something. The chart you're looking at is the amount of data we collected on time it takes before we ran our pilot. So what this is showing is, and I'll give you the kind of the spoiler here, is that our spec limit, our goal was 45 minutes. We want you in and out in less than 45 minutes. Before we ran our pilot, the average number of consumers going through was 8%. Only 8% of the people were being in and done in 45 minutes or less. However, on the left, this just isn't a very sexy diagram to try to help explain how starkly challenging that is, how bad it is. So I went into Microsoft Excel because for the good and bad of it, it does spit out some pretty nice looking charts. And I went for very simple here. And what you see is the green. Those are the people that are done in 45 minutes. The red, the people that are not. Very stark, very simple to clearly show we have a problem in San Jose. Next up, I want to show you a Pareto chart. Pareto chart's really, really neat when you have to look at chunks of time and see which of these chunks is taking up the most amount of the overall time. So we have these 4 steps. Again, when you walk in before you get your ticket, from the ticket to your MVR transaction, and then a photo afterward, or you begin your test. The problem with this is it doesn't tell you which ones are gobbling up time, and what's critical to our exercise was it doesn't tell you where these big chunks exist. So this is a revised version. And what you're seeing is customer enters, customer's done. These two big chunks right there are all wait, and they all take place before any action occurs with the motor vehicle representative. Further, it takes up 73% of the entire time you spend in that office. So 3/4 of the time you're in that office, you're just waiting. You're just waiting before anything. As a matter of fact, the only the separator here is that you got a ticket, which kind of separates the events. So as you can see, using color, reorganizing it to help tell that story for my colleagues, for my leaders, this becomes a very, very easy thing to see very quickly. I don't have to explain how to read a chart, I just have to tell the story of what they're looking at. So we go through this pilot, and we find out what's wrong and why. And we start to go through some implementation to improve these. And Lean Six Sigma is through the improve, we implement these changes. They are not recommended, we do them. And they're down in San Jose doing them right now. This is the new way we do it in that office. So what happened? Okay, this was after the pilot. So again, I get this is what I get out of Minitab. It's very explanatory, but if you are not familiar with how to read the charts out of Minitab, it becomes a challenge to explain it. So what you see is the right. This is the version I created. We went from 8% of people being completed in 45 minutes or less to 78% of people being completed in 45 minutes or less. However, from a chart standpoint, and I'm using, what a shock, I'm using red, yellow, and green for this. You can see that now the vast majority of our customers are done in the green phase. That yellow is, it's about 43 to 47 minutes in there, you know, give or take could be. And then red, clearly these are people that are still taking longer than 45 minutes for a variety of reasons. However, showing this to my colleagues and my leadership, again, very quickly shows them that before and after. Before, not so good. After, wow, terrific, real improvement. And then all of those numbers and the data and all the stuff that I have to support it can be your appendices to these. However, when I'm trying to tell the story very quickly, it's very effective. Okay, finally, one more here, bar charts. I'm a fan of them if they can show you true comparison. I have actually 4 here. The first, I'm trying to read this. My eyesight's going bad. See, I won't pass the vision test at the DMV. The average wait time, this is once you get your ticket to seeing the MVR. So after you've gotten your ticket. Before it was an average of 42 minutes, after was an average of 21-minute wait time. And there's still wait, and we know why. The second one is before you walk in the building until you get your ticket. The average was 22 minutes, afterwards 9 minutes. This right here is the actual transaction. We shaved a minute off of that, and believe it or not, that right there was probably the biggest game changer, which is a much longer story than we have time for. But this one right here is kind of this is my hero shot right here. Total average time before the pilot, 74 minutes. Total average after, 31 minutes. And what's interesting as a kind of side note, and I don't even know if I've shared this with, one of my leaders is sitting right there. We're still continuing to collect data, and they've even improved more. The most recent average was 28 minutes. So they continue to improve. But this right here is a terrific example of just clearly telling that story, gathering all the data, going back and using 2 simple bars to show the improvement. So it's a really fun way, a very easy way to explain it. We also did one more thing. We did a zip code survey. We want to see, okay, where are these people coming from? So very quickly, that red dot is the field office. The stars are other field offices in that area. The blue dots are the locations gathered off of applications of where people are coming from to get there. And what you can see is people are literally driving farther than their nearest office to come to this office. Our productivity went up there. So on our website, you can look at a field office and see what the average wait is. And what people do is they shop. They'll go into an area and they'll say, which field office has the lowest wait? I don't have all day. So we saw an increase in traffic, in foot traffic in that office. But what this did was it generated a lot more discussion about what we should be learning about our customers. The demographics, the geographics, the population density, the capability of the office. And we learned a lot, but we didn't learn enough. We are still learning. And it's starting to generate a lot of terrific conversation. Okay, finally, aligning with best practices. The 3 that really stuck out for me, number 1, goals. Our number 1 goal is provide superior customer service. So if I can get you in and out of that field office in less than 30 minutes, I'm pretty proud of that. I think all of the people inside DMV would be very proud of that. That's a terrific way to achieve that goal. Let me cover on this. The audience, this audience was wide. It was from rank and file all the way up to the director. And every one of them I had to explain it simply, clearly, effectively. I'm not given 3-4 hours of my own leisure time. I've got half an hour to explain all of this. The visual, the grammar, simplify it. Like I said, I'm a less is more. So his stuff is really terrifically robust. I tend to kind of get up on stage or in front of them and help tell people what they should be looking at. But down here, this is really where it becomes the game changer. I show this data visualization to get buy-in on what we can change. And what we found is that a lot of the change is very human. So we can change these best practices across the state. Further, it generated that conversation to know more. We need to learn more about our customers, who they are, where they go, when they visit. Just simply opening an office and watching foot traffic does not explain the whole story. And finally, like I said, stop the waiting. I don't want to be in the next Zootopia movie. So it's a goal of mine to stop the waiting. So if you see me at a field office, I'm there trying to make sure. Okay, so that's the end of our side of this presentation. There is slides that may or may not be used because we have decided to provide them as appendices. By all means, please take a look at them. So that's it. Thank you very much. Any closing thoughts?
No, we have a few minutes for questions.
Okay, so we have a few minutes, so there you go. Anybody? Thank you. Thank you.
We've got a question right there. And I think we'll be bringing around a microphone.
I'll just go ahead and ask, and you can repeat. Tableau, is that a tool? I know it's at DMV. Are you using it, and how is it being used?
Tableau?
Tableau.
No, I'm not using it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not using it either.
Next.
Okay.
I'll take a seat.
So I got a couple of comments, questions. So on at the beginning with the Oracle gentleman, some of the data that you output, is that viewable? Do you have to have a specific software program to view it? And can users print it or save it, or how do other users are able to manipulate those graphics?
So what I was actually showing was it wasn't necessarily one particular set of technologies. It was really more a set of rules that you can use with any technology, whether it's an Oracle technology, Tableau, Microsoft, ClickView. There's lots of vendors out there. In terms of how Oracle shares data visualization, I can talk with you afterwards, but there's different ways, whether it's on a mobile, whether it's on a piece of paper, whether it's sharing an archived file. Microsoft has similar ways of doing that. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but
well, I guess once you have that graphic, is that like what format is it? Is it a PNG file, a GIF, or what type? JPEG? What?
So you can share them. So if you're going to be presenting something as a static report, it would probably end up being a JPEG. But in general, different vendors have different ways of archiving projects. So you could either share that somebody else might have a copy of Oracle Data Visualization on their desktop. You can share that, or you could post it to a cloud version, or Microsoft BI. The Power BI allows you to publish to the web as well. So that's another way to share, and I think that's one of the main ways you built yours.
This particular model, but is this on? Yeah, but we also have applications on mobile devices, whether it's the phone, there's an application to view that same dashboard. There's also application for a tablet, whether it's Apple or Droid or Windows tablets. And then it also can be that what you looked at or that URL we web published. And then we also have Power BI services, which is also in the cloud. So when you're part of the Power BI services, you get much more robust. And then there's also, we disseminate, the visuals through SharePoint. So there's a number of ways that we can embed that same graphic. And if you come down to our kiosk, I can show you what it looks like on all different devices through different applications. This particular one was done in HTML, which will render perfectly in the tablet or on desktop and whatnot.
All right, thank you. And then for the, sorry, DMV gentleman, forgot your name, but in the Excel, one of the things I run up across is what level of knowledge of whether it be Excel or any other tool that you're using, have you run across that you need to display some of the data? Is it sometimes, it's not like beginner or intermediate, it's almost like you have to be an advanced Excel user, and just wondering what you've come across with that.
So what level of, what's your knowledge level of Excel in order to do that? Excel's come a long way. What I did was I put all of my data into Minitab, and we have all the raw data as stacks and stacks of printed. We love our printers. But what I did was I just simply select the columns and create a chart from it. And then I kind of tweak some of it. Excel 2016, or the most recent version, is very intuitive. It's much better at just simply kind of letting you sliders to kind of pick widths, what's your range for each column, so on and so forth. So to answer your question, I think your knowledge of Excel does not need to be severely advanced, because Excel's made it easier to create charts from data. I'm sorry? Oh, they're out. Shh. They're out there yapping. However, given that, one of the things that I think is truly critical is knowing, for example, if I put some of those in pie charts, you're walking away completely unfamiliar with what you just looked at. So that's why I'm a believer in bar charts, nice, easy comparisons. And you saw that my y-axis was from 0 on up. I didn't shrink it. I kind of call it the Fox News effect, where they use like 3 data points to show you this disparity. But generally speaking,
Paul, I report, you decide. So
yes. Yeah. So basic knowledge, I think, would help you.
I would like to add one thing, that everything that you've seen on that dashboard, the data models, the querying that went to the OData was from Excel. It was just consumed into Power BI. So Excel actually did most of all that work.
And I would like to conclude, because I think we're out of time. But if you have specific questions, feel free to come up and talk to us afterwards. Well, you have a question, but I just said I don't want to take any more questions, but okay. Yes. How do we get that?
It'll be on the PSP website.
Okay, yeah, it'll be on the PSP website. Okay, thank you.